Dabo's legacy is on the line this season, in my opinion. If Clemson doesn't perform close to their peak from the mid-20 teens this year, Dabo has to face facts that he's being left in the past and his vision is outdated. Let me be very clear about something. Nothing about Dabo Swinney's legacy will ever be on the line for football-related reasons. The only thing that could tear apart Dabo Swinney's legacy is some sort of scandal that happens off the field that goes well above and beyond football, and it tarnishes what he accomplished as a coach. And I know nothing of anything of that nature surrounding him. So if we're talking about football, I couldn't care less if the guy never wins double digits again. Let's just assume, Oliver, that worst case happens. And worst case at Clemson is they don't win the ACC again under Dabo. And he refuses to use the portal, and his competitors do use the portal. And while they may not bat 1,000 in the portal, it does up their game, and it ties Clemson's hand behind their back when they play FSU or Miami. And so let's just say, worst of worst cases, that Clemson regresses to just being a pretty good program. Dabo Swinney's legacy is still he's one of the greatest of all time. What happened to his legacy? If this was 2014, Dabo hadn't accomplished all that he's accomplished, and we were talking about the game maybe leaving him behind, and by the way, that's an opinion that the jury is still out on. But if we were talking about all that, and it was 2014, and we hadn't had like the Taj Boyd to Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence, if we hadn't had all that happen, yeah, okay, well, the legacy's not cemented. That's a national championship trophy he just kissed. And he's got another one to kiss if he breaks up with that one. The legacy, what legacy? You're talking about a dude who completely rebuilt a program with no prior head coaching experience. Who else do you say that about? Do you know how small the group of people are that, or the group of people is that you can say that about? Dabo Swinney, never been a head coach before, gets elevated to head coach at Clemson, and Clemson's been around for a long time. I mean, Clemson was around before Meemaw was even born. That's how long Clemson's been around. They've played football there for a long time. And he took it, and he totally reinvented it. He reinvented it to the point where what Clemson had been previous to him or prior to him didn't really matter to anyone anymore. Aside from Clemson fans, it didn't really matter. And the funny thing is, in the interim, they made fun of him because there were a few big games where Clemson famously face-planted. They called it Clemsoning. So not only did he reinvent Clemson, just for good measure, just to drop the elbow on everyone in the public, he redefined what Clemsoning was as well. Clemsoning is beating Bama when you get another shot at him in 2016. And it's running them out of the building a couple of years after that when you get yet another shot against them in a national championship setting. Clemson was one of the premier programs in college football. They hadn't taken 10 steps back. They may have taken 1 or 2 steps back, but okay. So I think we beat that piñata pretty thoroughly. But let's just talk about this thing, because he was at ACC Media Days last week, was Dabo Swinney, and he talked again about the transfer portal, and he offered his philosophy yet again. And I've been as clear as I can possibly be on this, but it does sound confusing. I will grant you that. It sounds a little weird when I talk about this, because it does sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I kind of am. It's just the difference in my personal opinion, but also setting my opinion aside and respecting someone who is going about things in a maybe different way than I'd love to see them go about it. That's where I am on Dabo. I'd love to see him take more chances in the portal. I'd love to see Clemson go out there and get their own Keon Coleman. I'd love to see that. But I know why they don't do it. And the why they don't do it makes perfect sense to me. It's not just the what Dabo's doing, or in this case, it's not just the what Dabo's not doing. It's why he's not doing it. If his biggest crime against college football is he has defined values and principles of his own, and he's going to adhere to them not just when he's winning titles, but when they may be, stepping back to only winning 9 or 10 games, then that's not a crime that needs to be punished to a great deal, to me. It doesn't matter if I love it or not. I don't run the program. He's not accountable to me. I'm not his athletic director. I'm not even one of his season ticket holders. You cannot have, on one hand, the values and principles that make up Clemson football under Dabo Swinney yield all the results that it yielded to you the previous decade, but then encourage him to throw all that out the window because you're not in the moment getting the results you want in the next decade. And you're certainly not ever going to be a serious person on this show that suggests his legacy's on the line. His legacy's not on the line. He can go 0-12 this year, and his legacy's cemented, at least in my mind. Maybe you disagree with me on that, Oliver? And I appreciate the question. Sounds like I'm yelling at you. I appreciate the question. I just get a little worked up about this. I get worked up about it because, there are these words that get thrown around, legacy. It's just like culture. And I think some people don't have the slightest clue what they mean. Because if you did, you'd speak about those things with a lot more gravity in your words than there are. You don't. What do you think it takes to build a legacy? Because I think it takes a lot. A lot. You don't build a legacy in 1 or 2 years. Neither did Dabo. And so you don't tear one down in 1 or 2 years either. And once it's been cemented, it's been cemented. Bobby Bowden had a legacy. And then Bobby Bowden's results waned in the closing years of his career. Well, how do we talk about Bobby Bowden's legacy today? And that's way worse than what Clemson was. Like FSU fell off pretty precipitously there near the end under Bobby Bowden. Does anyone talk about, when people talk about Bobby Bowden, does anyone say, well, yeah, boy, those 90s FSU teams were good, but you know what ruins it for me? 04, 05, 06. No one talks about that. You don't even remember it. Boy, Michael Jordan, if it were just not for those Wizards years, I think he was a really, really good player. But I seen in that Washington jersey, that just really tainted it for me. You don't care. You don't care, because that's not how legacy actually works. So no, Dabo's legacy is not on the line. I'll tell you what's on the line. Clemson's odds and Clemson's chances of winning the ACC in 2024. That's what's on the line, and that's all that's on the line.